If you're thinking about buying a brand new home in San Antonio this year, you do not want to miss this video. I'm going to go over some of the biggest mistakes not to make when buying a new construction home in the San Antonio area or any area really. My name is Tammy Dominguez and I help people find the best homes in the San Antonio area for their family. And I specialize in new construction homes in San Antonio. Whether you're moving to San Antonio or already living here, looking for a ready new build or wanting to build from dirt, I'm here to help you navigate the process and find the best deals on brand new homes in the San Antonio area. Just check out the description for all of my contact info and resources to help you with your process. Now, we all know that builders go all out on their models and include all of the upgrade options and features that you can possibly add. But they also make changes of basic finish outs that you would assume to be standard that are actually not. I once had a client that completely changed his mind about a builder, even though it was the best option for him and checked all of his boxes. And here's why. The model home had a completely different standard from the inventory homes that were the exact same floor plan. So for example, the model had higher ceilings, added lighting, tile flooring instead of carpet, and a few other upgrades that were not even available as add-on options for their homes. To him, it felt like the builder was being deceitful and he just didn't want to do business with them after that. This is common with production builders that already have their homes completely planned out and do not allow for any changes to anything. It's important to know that this is also why inventory homes tend to be the most affordable options in that price range and have the best incentive, because the builder doesn't have to charge you for all of the design changes, which can definitely add up. When it comes to the homes that you are able to make those design choices, keep in mind that sometimes the models include upgrades of $50,000 to $100,000 or even more to make them look like that. Next, not asking how long the community will be under construction. Some communities can be under construction for years, especially if there are multiple phases of development that are scheduled. Whether on that specific street or adjacent streets or blocks, you will want to consider that you'll hear construction noise that is going on nearby. You'll potentially have dust from construction coming into your home. You'll notice trash blowing around the street. There are hazards like nails and screws in your tires that are very common in construction zones. And even having to just look at the messy and cluttered construction sites can be somewhat of an eyesore. Some project managers or construction managers have different standards for the cleanliness of their sites, so there are some that are better maintained than others. You really just need to ask yourself if you're going to be okay with potentially living in a construction zone for that amount of time until the nearby homes in the community are completed. Not hiring a third-party inspector. It doesn't matter which builder, which community, or which phase of the build process your home is in. No home is ever perfect, even a brand new one. It's always important to hire a third-party inspector to perform at least one inspection on your new home before closing. If you're building a home from dirt, there are even more opportunities to inspect the builder's work that are called phase inspections. These inspections are performed during specific phases of the construction process. They really just help to provide a punch list to the builder for the corrections that are needed before they cause problems or before it is too late to catch or correct them. Phase 1, or the pre-slab inspection, is where they inspect the post-tension cables, the plumbing components the day before the slab pour. Phase 2, or mechanical inspection, is the pre-drywall inspection before installation is installed. The inspector is checking to make sure everything looks good in between the walls, the plumbing, electrical, and framing. And Phase 3, or the final inspection, is the same as on a resale home. They're going to go through the major systems of the home to make sure that they function as intended, checking roof construction, attic insulation, windows, electrical outlets, and much, much more. This is usually done 1 to 2 weeks before closing so that there's enough time for corrections before closing. So even if you're contracting on an inventory home that is completed, you should still be able to get this inspection done at the very least. You will also be able to do a blue tape walkthrough with your realtor as a second set of eyes about a week before closing to point out any cosmetic flaws, workmanship issues that need to be resolved. Then of course you will have the final walkthrough the day of closing or sometimes the day before, just to make sure that everything is ready. If this information is helpful to you so far, make sure to like this video and leave me a comment so that I know to keep creating more content just like this, all about the San Antonio new construction home process. The next mistake you want to avoid when buying a brand new home is not factoring in the added tax value calculation. This can be a huge and expensive mistake to make if you're buying a brand new home here in San Antonio. I've seen this happen numerous times where the builder's lender gives you a quote on what your monthly mortgage payment is going to be. It includes principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, so it looks right, but you need to pay close attention to the property taxes that they will be reserving for your escrow. When the builder purchases the lots within a development, they are taxed on the value of the lots only. Once the home is built, the assessed value will be updated to include the home and the lot. So when the lender runs your calculation, they sometimes will be using the tax amount based off of the lot only. Let's say that even through signing your loan disclosures towards the end and even at closing, that amount stays in the calculation. Then when you've lived in the home for a few months, all of a sudden you get notified that you have an escrow shortage that has to be paid to the lender immediately, and your monthly mortgage payments are going to increase by $200 to $300. This happens because the tax assessor adds the value of the home to the land, which causes the tax bill to jump up, which is how it should have been all along, but you of course had no idea to expect this. So this is your heads up to pay close attention to what they are estimating the taxes to be. Or if you have a realtor or new construction specialist helping you, they should be able to walk you through getting an accurate estimate of your tax amount. Not considering resale value, this one is important and one that most buyers just don't consider. If you're buying a brand new home in the area that is still building new homes, you really need to consider how long you plan on staying in that area. If it's only going to be for a short time, like 2 to 3 years, there's a good possibility that you will have a challenge selling that home when it's time. The reason for that is new build homes are going to be your biggest competition, and the fact that the builders are going to be able to appeal to a larger market of buyers and offer the best incentives. Also think about the level of builders that are coming to the community. Here's a real life situation that I've had with my clients recently. They bought their home with a well-known and reputable mid-level builder. A year and a half later, they needed to list their home and sell it because of a job transfer. In that time, another builder started building in that community. And this builder was more of an entry-level builder that offered similarly sized homes, but at a lower quality with less features and lower end finish out. And of course, at a much lower price point. So of course, there was a constant struggle finding buyers that were interested in paying more for those differences on a resale home when they could just buy a brand new home with fewer upgrades for much less. So even though their home was priced according to those features, it's something that caused a huge challenge in getting buyers to understand those differences. Not reading the purchase agreement and understanding escalation clauses. Once you have signed the purchase agreement, you are locked into the terms in that agreement. And a builder's purchase agreement is totally one-sided. It will always be in the best interest of and protection of the builder. It's not likely that you'll ever be able to change these terms, even if you don't like them, other than, of course, pricing and incentive. Other than that, it's not negotiable. So if you want to buy the home, you will have to sign those existing documents. But you do want to know and understand what it is that you're agreeing to. Here are a few of the specifics that you'll want to know before signing, assuming that all the numbers have already been discussed and negotiated. What happens if I can't close by the closing date? This is especially important if you have another home that you need to sell before closing on this home. If for some reason something doesn't go according to plan and that current home doesn't close in time, it will impact the closing of your new home. So you'll want to know these scenarios. Another possibility is if there's a delay in getting the loan approved. If you're using the builder's in-house lender, they will usually work with you on this, but if you're using outside lending, you could be looking at daily fees for all of the days that closing is delayed, and the lender does not typically pay those fees. It has also happened where a buyer has just changed their mind about the home. Maybe they found another option that worked out better, or their moving plans changed, the build process was taking too long. So you'll want to know what your options are if there's another reason that you need to terminate the contract. And the other thing you'll want to know, and this is one that most buyers don't think about, is under what condition would the builder be able to terminate the contract? This was actually something that came up frequently in 2021 and 2022. There was a massive home shortage and new builds were delayed by months and months because of supply and labor shortages. This caused buyers that were under contract for new construction homes to become very frustrated with the builders. If a builder felt that the buyer had become overly aggressive or abusive or pushy toward them, they would just terminate the contract and sell the home to another buyer. And their contract protected them. Why? Because a builder's contract has terms to favor the builder. Either way, the main point you'll want to know is how to keep your earnest money protected if the closing of this home never happens. When it comes to escalation clauses, I bring that up just for awareness. They aren't used as frequently anymore, but you will want to look out for them in the purchase agreement because basically they allow for the builder to increase the agreed price that you will pay for the home if the cost of building the home should increase for some reason. An example of this was during the time when building materials skyrocketed and the builders were were scrambling to be able to keep up with these price increases. They had to, of course, pass a majority of that cost increase along to the buyer of the home. Again, not as common anymore, but something you should be aware of if you do notice it in your purchase agreement. Now, this brings me to the next mistake that you don't want to make when buying a new construction home in San Antonio. That is that you do not want to go into the builder sales office without representation. Hear me out, because this is really important. And this is not a scare tactic so that you'll call me. If you have another realtor that's a new construction specialist, that's great. But just have someone with you that is going to represent you and your best interest. Now, if you're thinking, I'm going to find my builder in my community and then I'll call my realtor so that they can help me through the contract and the closing process, this could be a huge mistake. Number one, your realtor, especially if you find a new construction expert, is there to help you as the expert to use your needs and wants to narrow down your options and save you the work of going from sales office to sales office. That process can be exhausting for you and confusing, as all the information that you receive and all the homes that you see can start to run together and make the decision process even more difficult. Instead, let your new construction expert help you narrow those options down first. The number two reason is that once you go into a sales office and if you register your info while you're there, which usually they do require you to do, you are typically not going to be allowed to have a realtor represent you later. Another common misconception here is that you will save money on the purchase or be able to negotiate the price if you don't have a realtor. And that's also not usually true. Most builders have the cost of buyer representation already included in their pricing through the marketing budget, and they don't usually change the price even if you don't have a realtor. It's also important to know that a new construction specialist will be able to use their existing relationships with sales reps to help you find the best deals, have insights to options that may not be on the market yet, and save you money in the long run. A realtor that is experienced in new construction can help you understand the purchase agreement and what you're signing and help you to avoid all of these mistakes and more. Keep in mind that the sales rep that works in the sales office represents the builder and not you. Don't get me wrong though, sales reps are usually wonderful to work with. I know some really amazing, professional, and incredibly knowledgeable sales reps. They aren't hired by you. They were hired by the builder for a reason. You have to hire your own representation, and it should be a red flag to you if you ever have someone that tries to convince you not to use your own representation. Now that we've talked about all these mistakes to avoid when buying a new construction home in San Antonio, just know that I'm here to help you in any way that I can. If you have questions, need advice, or are ready to start looking for your brand new home in San Antonio, you can reach out to me however you'd like. All of my info is in the description below, along with tons of other resources for you. Now make sure to check out this video next to learn even more about San Antonio new construction homes. We'll see you in the next video.